appeal, they have to appeal on the water. So the cox is meant to lodge his appeal, state his points, and then move off the water. And the umpires are going to. It's not necessarily an argument. It's just to state your opinions, and it gets heated. But I'm sure. Bruce Steelgray, he's seen it all before. He's the right man. I'm sure Carol would have been quite happy to know that he's at the wheel of what will most likely be our most heated race of the afternoon. We can only dream to get another one of those out here today.
I think Simpiwe Shabalala definitely made a point of making his feelings known quite strongly there. But as we see, St. Stithians Girls College touching up to the start. Wow, trying to bring the heart rate down a little bit here. St. Stithians on the line already, stroked by Holly Cruz. She's the talisman of that crew. I think she really kept them in the race, and you cannot understate the value of a great stroke woman. A great stroke woman can literally make everyone in the crew row 10 to 20% better with the energy that they can bring with that killer rhythm. It just allows the athletes behind her, experienced, not experienced, skilled, not skilled, they just can find that rhythm, and they just got to follow and work.
Yeah, and you know, I'm very impressed, Mo, with you and James. You guys must be broken after that last race. You know, our nerves are kind of frayed. We've still got quite a few more races to get through. At St. Stithians, you know, they won the toss. They've got the East Bank, you know, to their advantage. And, you know, but it's going to be a great race. You know, St. Stithians versus Somerset. Somerset have got Nick Muller. He's been there a while. You know, Somerset College, we have a look. You know the girls here from Somerset College. Well, in fact, they're a little bit unknown. Somerset College, we do know them, you know, out from the Western Cape, the Cox Olivia Searle, and a lot of these girls here for the first time. You know, stroke Lisa McDonald, Xandra Axton, Samantha Koch, and in the bow seat, Teresa Adendorf. It's going to be a great race. You know, the girls are all lining up. Can I ask you a question, Mo? With regards to the rolling start from yesterday, today, it's very different. They line the girls up. How the marshals actually, or the umpires, setting it up for the start?
I think you just have an umpire in the bank. They pick a marker. That marker's the line. You line them up. You ask a crew to hold. You tell once you're happy with the alignment of both crews. With the moving water, it's extremely difficult because it's very hard to get a dead level start. So once the crews are lined up, the umpire generally likes to get quite quickly onto the attention go. I think the thing to note about the Somerset College crew, Somerset College not necessarily known for producing the so-called big name school athletes. A lot of the athletes, you only find out about them towards the back end of their second year open. But if we look in the senior system, a lot of Somerset athletes have come through. Nick Oberholzer raced a lightweight men's double A final in 2017. Kat Williams went to the under 23s, and I think she won a medal last year, and this year again in the double. Leanne Peirce, double Olympian, rode in an A final in 2016. So Somerset College, there are some really good athletes that go through that system, and it's an effective system. It has been an effective system because those athletes are separated by quite a number of years. So there's definitely some sort of an inspiration factor, a hero factor, if you might say, that allows them to continually produce these athletes year after year.
Yeah, and I think the crew this year is already one up on where they were a year ago, onto 5th place last year. So they've really got their tails up a little bit, one place forward. So I think their coach, Nick Muller, apparently drove the development of Rondebosch rowing. He's seen a couple of the schools in the Western Cape, and obviously making progress now into the B final this year for the girls. So steady progress for them. Saints, and apparently they've got 3 athletes back from that crew of last year, so definitely a step forward for them. And then Saints, coached by Chris Middendorf, he comes out of the same university system as I, a lot of long decade plus of winning boat race knowledge in there, so he'll know lots of the tricks of the game, and we see as Cox coming onto station second, making the gap nice and tight. Very different start to what we saw from the C final, and that's it. Saints girls definitely made themselves known on that start, but boats heading away from each other now. This is side-by-side racing, and looks like Saints making the most out of the start and heading into that first dog leg.
Yeah, I think Saints really have got the bit between their teeth. It's very close, so we want to see a separation. You don't really like to see a clash immediately off the start. We understand around a bend, but you don't really want to be disrupted immediately. But then again, if you want to restart, you'd like it to be close to where the original start happened. But now the crews have separated, and I think based on what we saw, they're very skilled, very mature coxing from both coxes. Both coxes are going to look, by the looks of things, are going to try and have a clean race here. I think Saints last year, won the heads race by 15 seconds, but some interesting steering, we might say, in the final is what ended up costing them. But I think this year they'll have definitely rewatched that video a few times, sometimes through their fingers, but they'll know what mistakes not to repeat. So I think you can't discount that experience factor.
Yeah, last 10 seconds there from of the first minute, we really saw St. Stithians start to move away. They've broken that elastic. They've got their heads up, very assertive. Same thing we saw in the Ladies C final. Same tactic being played out there, very assertive start. Somerset are going to have to respond in the next few seconds to turn this around, but definitely looking like a Saints horse race at this point. Difficult position to be in if you Somerset right now. That's 1 minute 30 in, and they've ripped this final out of their hands.
Yeah, so now we move in. You see the St. Stithians 2 girl move slightly towards bar side into the finish. I think that's going to compromise her ability to hold the pressure through the gate. So what happens is if you look closely at the blades, there's a little blue collar on there that stops the oar sliding through the gate. So, and by keeping that against the gate, it really allows you to apply the pressure directly into the hull, as that's the only place where the oar is directly connected to the boat. I think if the camera could pan out a little bit, you'd see the viewers on the live stream will have definitely seen the cable ties or the straws sticking up on the Somerset boat, and that's just to give the athletes a guide as to how long they need to row. So in a race like this where you're behind, something like that may end up playing quite a crucial factor in allowing you to hold your length as you try to row them down. But I don't think this is going to be one of those races, as it looks like Holly Cruz has the bit between her teeth. She's leading those girls beautifully, and they look to be pretty much A for away after the first 2.5 minutes. And I think to pull a Martin cross, I'm going to call it, I think this is race done and dusted right here.
Yeah. And it looks done and dusted, but at the same time, you know, the St. John, St. Albans, we almost called it a few times, and yet there was drama and tragedy in the last corner. Anything can happen in boat race. You know, the technical issues around this, it's very tricky. To actually, and I want to ask you a question on this, Mo, earlier with regards to the St. Albans incident with the actual skeg getting caught. Do you think it's jammed, or can it actually break right off?
Hold on, the St. Albans boat's walking past, so we can just have a look. James? Yeah, so skeg and rudder were just jammed. They didn't lose it, so I think, fortunately for them, the jam allowed them to go straight, so the restart was really beneficial in terms of it just allowed them to just run a straight line. But I think a really good job from the St. Albans. If we can find out from the truck if that result has been confirmed just yet, or if the appeal is still pending. But as we cast our eye back onto the screen, St. Stithians look to be having a clean run of it. James really wants to know the result of this race, nearly climbing into the truck there, and St. Stithians starting to move now. They're well up. You can see they've got Somerset College in their sights, and I think St. Stithians are going to row away here, and I think they'll be a little bit disappointed to be in the B final, but happy to go home with a bronze medal. So I think maybe a trip to Friesland's on the way to the airport, and I think St. Stithians will be happy campers on the way home.
Yeah, St. Stithians had the 19 seconds coming into this from yesterday's race. It's a heads race. Today, it's side by side. You know, it's a different story, and I think they've also got something to prove. You know, St. Stithians want to come through. They want to show how powerful, how strong they are. They've taken a very aggressive line in this race. They're holding it, and I think they want to put a massive gap between themselves and Somerset to show that they were contenders for that A final.
I think Holly Cruz really showing her class today. The crew is really backing her up nicely, but they fitted beautifully into that rhythm, and now they are starting to just absolutely move with them. I see Jay, hopefully we'll be able to chat to one of St. Albans athletes shortly, but St. Stithians moving beautifully. Holly Cruz just leading that crew. They are looking imperious now. They're 10 seconds up. So the clock keeps on ticking, so we'll wait to see what that split time is. But for my eyes, St. Stithians are well clear now. I think the St. Stithians learning from last year. The barman is definitely telling the cocks to keep it conservative. Just do what the coach told you. We'll sort out the rest. 23 seconds up, so no need for any risks here. You've got plenty of time to play with. I think at this point it's about just managing. At this point it's race management. You're not even racing at this point. You just want to manage the race, get yourself to the finish line ahead, boat in one piece, and get the riggers off and onto the trailer, trip to the beach in the milkshake bar, and home you go.
Yeah, Yeah, that's it. You know, you always got to be careful about things like a jammed rudder going around corners. You know, I think there was so much pressure in the previous race that we saw. There was so much going on. You know, a lot of excitement. Here, you know, St. Stithians have come here. You know, I think they wanted to get that A final. You know, they just missed it by a few seconds. You know, they've got Somerset, and look at that composure. Mo, you're looking at style, good stroke rate. Holly Cruz just leading the girls. There's a bit of wobble in the boat there. You know, is that the conditions?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, as you can see now, they're going around the bar side, around the stroke side corner. So the rudder is on quite hard to stroke side. So that, so that just accounts for a little bit of the tip of the boat. I think this race is not a lot going to happen here. So we're going to cross over to Markel, and Markel has one of the St. Albans boys with possibly a very interesting story.
So we've got 2 crew members from St. Albans today. They've just won their final against St. John's. A very, very intense race from both crews. There were 3 clashes during the race. So I just want to find out from you guys, what happened?
We went into this race expecting a dogfight and maybe 1 or 2 clashes, but not this many. But our game plan was, when you get clashed, you just keep calm, you don't look out the boat, you keep within your bubble, and you carry on. Don't let the other events affect us.
Yeah, we definitely had a tough race coming up to the course, ladies starts. We were always on to each other and always on each other's sides. And then eventually one clash happened and Blaze was just going everywhere. I told my crew to keep their heads in, stay focused, stay calm. That's what they did, and that's probably the ultimate thing that really happened. Yeah.
And then we saw coming towards Shipwreck Corner that you guys made a huge sort of stop. We just want to find out, was it the rudder? What happened there?
So basically my rudder's string, it snapped right in half and I couldn't turn the boat anymore. Later I found out I could actually put my hand behind myself and I can hold the rudder and steer it from there. And that worked out perfectly. So that's why, that's what happened.
And then coming into that last K, when you had that last clash, what was going through your guys' heads? Because I mean, it was the last K of the race. It's basically the last stretch, the last sprint.
I told my crew they're down, but they can actually just put in raw watts and kick it in hard. They have been extremely well, they know what they were doing. I told them to just keep focused, stay in their bubble and just kill it. They've always done their best on the long stretches. They couldn't have done anything better.
Well done to you guys. Was there anything from the umpires' boats? Did you want to appeal anything?
There was one clash at ladies' corner that we wanted to appeal, but we saw that we got 2 boat lengths ahead and we thought we had this in the bag. And when we clashed, I was relishing in the competition. I was like, this is a chance to prove our mettle and show what we were made of. And we did.
You guys certainly did. Well done. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
So coming back into the comedy box here, we've got AJ, Andrew Grant, one of the coaches from St. Albans, head of rowing there at the moment. AJ, that was a final for the ages. I've been watching boat races for rowing them for a long time. You have 2. How many races have you ever been involved in that have come to the bridges, first of all?
Wow, James, that was an amazing boat race. So exciting. I'm kind of half glad that I didn't go out in the motorboat today. I'm not sure my heart would have taken that. But great to watch, and great to watch on the live feed as well. Kudos to St. John's. I think they rode an exceptional race. I certainly felt a little bit hard done by around ladies after that clash. But obviously, 2 very well matched crews and ended up being a complete dogfight.
Yeah, so I think we saw that. We saw the ladies. I think your crew did really well up into ladies. And as you say, feeling really hard done by. I was wondering if it was possible to draw it back before the corner because your crew should have had that advantage. But it goes both ways, I think you guys got potentially, when you saw that rudder break, our understanding is your Cox finished the race driving with his hand behind his back, which is amazing. But how did you feel when you saw the drama happen on the corner and then suddenly come out of it? And just before that clash, what were your emotions at that point?
To be honest, I was watching from the car and I saw them go into the bay with sort of comfortable clear water, and knowing that they had right to the line on Shipwreck. I thought, it's a pretty safe win for them, and went round onto the jetties on the exit of Shipwreck, and then saw another clash happening. So I didn't actually know what had happened. I saw St John's on the inside of them, and then obviously we found out that there was an issue there. So yeah, I think with the restart also being level, we had the edge obviously in a straight line, and I think that's what did it for us at the end of the day.
Cool. Yeah, obviously a final like that, there's no way of getting down a track with, I can't even remember how many clashes restarts we had, 3, 4 at least. So always going to be a bit of controversy. Well done on your boys pulling it off in the end. Well done to St Albans. I think we can understand heated. St John's obviously appealing at the end there. After a heated race, many clashes, blades hitting, we can understand a bit of frustration, young boys. So yeah, tops off to all 16 rowers and 2 coxes. One of the most amazing boat races I've certainly ever had the privilege to watch. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, lovely to seeing some of the coaches coming around here. They're almost as tired as we are after that exciting race. There's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot at stake here. As we see St Stithians, the girls have all the young ladies have taken in this race, very controlled. They know this. They've got this one, and yet they're shooting the bridge. What's that about?
I think we've just seen the risk of taking risks once you're clearly up. But again, coaches are always teaching their coxes as if it's going to be a side-by-side race. This cox can't necessarily see where that other crew is, but certainly they've earned the right. High tide. Yes, there's lots of water. It's probably not a high risk, but there's no need for any risk. And I would want to see this crew come through the middle of the bridge. They'll be okay, but that's very close.
That's very close.
So very little need for that risk, but they are well on their way home to a good win. Huge contrast of the final we've just seen. But yeah, what a final. Just a comment there of the cox's cable breaking and having to steer the boat with his hand behind his back. That was not just, I don't think he got a chance. I see it's still broken here on the bank, so he didn't fix it before the restart, the final restart. I think if we go back and look at the video, we might see his hand behind his back for the whole last 1.1 Ks or whatever that final dash was. Truly a skillful piece of coxing, just had to make it work for him. I would have been pushing to get that fixed before the final restart, but yeah, he dealt with it the best he could, and at least it worked out.
Yeah, and I mean, the coxes, the steering that they've got with the cables, could you explain for the people who haven't really seen boat racing before, how they're actually steering it, how does the cable work, and how could it have snapped?
So it's a piece of rope that's going from the cox's hands onto the rudder. On a men's 8, it's just about a meter of rope, so he can actually reach back and hold the rudder behind him. But on a girl's quad, if the same thing happened on a girl's quad, it would be game over. There's no ways the cox could make the same innovative idea to just grab the rudder with his hand, or with her hand in this case, and make it work. So they were lucky it happened in an 8 and not a quad. It's just about a 1 meter piece of rope that's tied. Pretty simple, and he can control that whole 8 off that single piece of rope. Yeah, it's not a thing that would break very often, and possibly jammed more often, particularly in a quad that runs all the way from the front of the boat all the way to the back. But fantastic to sort of just be agile and grab that rudder and make it work, possibly would have been within his rights to fix that before the final restart, but I'm sure by then they were quite under a bit of pressure to get the regatta on, and I don't know if they would have been given a lot of time to fix that.
Yeah, and to think of the young cox there controlling it with his hand, having the strategic wherewithal to actually realize how to do that. And look, St. Stithians coming across the line, nice and powerful. Those girls very happy, ecstatic. I think they led from the very start. Mo, they were coming through there straight out of the blocks. No issues there whatsoever. The young girls behind them from Somerset, they really consolidated their advantage early.
Yeah, I think that race was a bit of a procession. I think since Stithians went out there with a very clear game plan, and I think within the first 20 to 30 strokes that in essence executed the game plan, and then from that point forward it was just a matter of time as they just moved and moved and moved consistently. I think if we look around the boat park, it would be great to get a few shots of the boat park now. The boat park is really emptied now. I think that it'll be quite epic in a few minutes to watch St Benedict's and St Stithians launch. Highly unusual that the two crews contesting the A final, their boats are, it's an epic shot now. It's gladiatorial here as you see the boys carry their blades down, and the 2/8s are lined up side by side, and these crews are going to get hands on and they're going to walk out and go to battle in about 20 or 30 minutes. The Somerset girls now coming across the line. I think they can be very happy with their effort. They've moved up a final, they've made up a place, and now they're in the top 4. They're within a sniff of a medal, so I think that's going to be their build-up moving into the next into the remainder of the season, hopefully looking to win a medal at SA Champs, and then next year coming, potentially looking to make the B final again, and this time convert that into a win. I think a lot of crews get caught up. Next Cox weighed 45 kilos, so he was weighed 45 kilos. The official conducting that will then say, okay, you require 10 kilos of ballast. He would have to go off and find that. The ballast is then weighed and sealed, and then the Cox gets back onto the scale with his ballast to ensure that he's of the 55 kilos. And then at the end of the race, you will see the official will ask to see the ballast, and the ballast will be checked following the race. The ballast may even be reweighed. An important technicality is that the ballast can be reweighed, but the Cox cannot be.
So what's really interesting for me, as we look at those crews getting ready to get on, and we've just seen the girls' A final launch. They've got 90 minutes. They've got an hour to half an hour to start. These boys 60 minutes to start. It's about right for them to be here. Interesting. St Benedict's very much almost starting to do team talks, that sort of stuff. St Stithians nowhere to be seen. Yesterday as well, when they finished very quickly out of the boat park, very different atmospheres around the two crews. St Stithians have been very little time in the boat park. I haven't seen any of their boys here today yet. St Benedict's were probably in the boat park for a good half an hour afterwards yesterday, but the atmosphere was different. They were happy to be here, washing their boat, doing their routine. So very different mindsets between the two camps.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think we'd like to get going with the prize giving now. I think we have all the athletes here out behind us, so we'll make a start. Ladies and gentlemen, parents, spectators, coaches, athletes, everyone who's come to play a part over this last weekend, welcome. It's been an incredible 2 days of racing through the heats and through the finals today, and I think, like never before, we've seen the strength and depth of school rowing in South Africa. We've had a record entry this year, both the boys event and the girls event, which is fantastic to see. And I think that alone is really worth a round of applause for all those crews who got to. So the fact that we managed to get so many of those athletes here, I think really pays testament to the dedication of those athletes concerned, especially, but also let's remember their coaches, and of course I think the parents, many of whom are here obviously as well, and I'm sure a lot of undying support from parents who've taken the time as well to be down here. So to all those people who are behind the athletes, I think let's also give them a little round of applause. So before we begin with the formalities of prize giving, just another couple of thank yous as well. So to make this event happen, there's a lot of people behind the scenes who are working incredibly hard to make it happen. So firstly, we have, there's a parent body from St Andrews College Rowing Club who've put in a lot of work, especially on the spectator side and also looking after the officials. So I'd really like to recognise their input and all their weeks of hard work which has gone into this regatta. So to the St Andrews parents, thank you. Secondly, I think the Supersport schools, your coverage over the last 2 years and really stepping it up another level this year has really taken this event to another level. So it's been fantastic to have Supersport schools along, getting some amazing footage of the rowing, and we hope that relationship continues and we can build on that and really make this a showpiece of South African rowing. And then to the officials. Obviously, without officials, we wouldn't have an event which runs on time and just all the aspects behind the scenes to make everything on the water happen. So we've got groups of officials who come from around the country, from the Western Cape, from Gauteng, from the Eastern Cape as well, all volunteering, even from Kenton-on-Sea. So I think in total, the volunteers and officials behind the scenes running the show gets to about 25, 30 people to make this regatta happen. And we're incredibly grateful for them giving up of their time over the last few days. So a round of applause for the officials, please. So lastly, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Standard Bank, who have now, for their 7th year, put their support behind this event. For all of those previous things, for the officials, for the Supersport, everything we've been able to put together, that's really thanks to Standard Bank and their ongoing support. And if we can just give Standard Bank a round of applause for their support for the event. We're going to get going with the prize game. I'd like to welcome Jacko Marie, who is Chair of the St Andrews College Council and Deputy Chairman of Standard Bank. Thank you, Jacko, for coming on behalf of the sponsors.
Thank you.
So we're going to start with the junior women's event, and the winners of the bronze medal in the junior women's event, St Stithians Girls College. Well done.